Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Rani Rohra, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titles to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with industry stalwarts interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formula for many. And this is what we achieve with these sessions that are gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such industry heavyweight in our today's session with FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Bipin Dayal. Currently, it's Managing Director of CData Software India. He is heading the firm's India business. He has great skills in business strategy, solution selling, and digital transformation. He owns them all to his over 2 decades of total work experience. Mr. Dayal has continually aided his profession with educational developments, namely certification in artificial intelligence and SSBM DBA, and as a certified disruptive strategist and business analyst. For his exceptional work, he has been honored with top 10 leaders in IT services in the year 2022, Indian Achievers Man of Excellence Award 2022, and Economics Time Inspiring Leaders 2022, among many other awards. Welcome, Mr. Dayal. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Rani, for having me and hosting me here. It's a privilege to be talking to you and the rest of the audience listening to me.
The honor is mine, sir. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Dayal, your expertise lies in technology. However, you also handle other facets of business, namely sales, technical support, strategic partnership, etc. Yes. So, what is the convening point between them all?
So, Rani, well, I would call maybe 2 key convening points. One, the technology itself, because that acts as a glue to almost all the functions that you just mentioned, and I played a big role in the early part of my career. And secondly, the customers, because when I say customers, more from the advocacy standpoint, the customers today know technology more than they ever did. Today, the sales force who interact with customers, I think more than the understanding the business, they know and they are equipped with technology a lot more than that they have had. And then the technologists, they get exposed to the business nuances a lot early in their careers. So what that has done is that, it has just converged a lot of these together. And that's why you see quite a lot of conversation happening, which is multifaceted, across, different opportunities that people work through. So to me, I think the entire sales and the customer relationship motion that has migrated more towards a consultative-based approach over the past decade or so. And it's not just about, what the customer's immediate needs are and the products or services that you're offering, and then the final print of the negotiation before closing the deals. I think today the customers are a lot more open in talking about, their strategic imperatives, their vision, their roadmap, and they work better with you when they see you, advising them on their thoughts and vision, and eventually, helping them align everything together in terms of whatever proposition you're making. So, you may win or lose a few deals, but I guess, in all of this, what is happening is that, you're building a lot deeper and trusted relationship with the customers. And that's my, learning based on the exposure that I have had in my active role, at least in all of these functions. Last 5 years, it has been more of an oversight because I have moved more onto the corporate governance side of things, but I think the learning stays. So
Great. Nice hearing this. Taking this further, which of your career moves has been the most strategic and fulfilling that you would like to share with the audience today?
I mean, it's an easy question for a technologist at heart, that he'll always have that inclination towards all of his contributions, in incubating or building or architecting a great product. If you talk about a sales personnel, then maybe, some of those real big opportunities that they would have really hustled and then got through with their customers and all of that. Because I have played all of these roles, so I think it'll be better if I take it more from a strategic standpoint and see where I stand today in whatever little journey I have had. I'm fortunate that I could live through this journey the way more or less I wanted it to be. The initial decade and a half, building a very, very strong technology foundation, and that baked into quite a lot of different kind of solutions that I worked with a lot of different customers. So made me quite a good solutions consultant. And then, that also helped me working with, customers early on in my career across the globe. Not just, interfacing with them, but actually, working natively. So I spent quite a few years in Europe and then a couple of years in US. And what that does is that it broadens your vision towards looking at things. It helps you communicate better than what you'll ideally will. And one of the other things that happened in my journey was working with some of the bigger firms early on, Tech Mahindra and the Wipro of the world. And what that does is that it also exposes you to a lot of different industries and domains in a very short period of time. So I think I got exposed to quite a lot of industries, lots of technologies, lots of customers, lots of cultures, and so a lot of learning, obviously, in that period. I also failed as an entrepreneur. Tried to start something off in 2014, didn't work out. Had lots of learning. But as Narayan Murthy said, recently quoted in NASCOM, I was in Mumbai last week, and he said that the toughest part is to figure out, your learnings from something where you really succeeded in doing. And when I look at my last 5 years, setting up a successful business in India, and I really realized that when you roll up your sleeves and start doing things which you haven't done in the past, say for instance, setting up a finance, which I haven't done, working through the regulatory compliances and secretarial compliances and all of that, which possibly you never have done. So you are going through lots of such learning, drafting policies, working more closely with people, working on all the governance practices and all of that. So what that does is that it just gives you different kind of a learning. And with the kind of individual that I think I am, bringing in a very high creative self on the table, impeccable integrity, and having some sense of foresight in terms of how I see things moving. I think I'm pretty well in my current position and current role and whatever I'm trying to do. I think that's the most satisfying and fulfilling part of my journey, and I'm pretty sure that there'll be more opportunities that will find my way, and till then I'll continue prepping myself for the bigger ones.
Definitely, there will be many opportunities, and we wish you all the best for that, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so going ahead to my next question. What are some of the most significant changes you have brought about in your professional journey so far?
There are quite a few that I can pick. But as I said, the first decade and a half of my experience was more on working with technologies. And I must say, a lot of people who came into the industry like me, during the late 90s and early 2000, I think, where we were really lucky because we got to work with quite a lot of these technologies that we are talking about today in its nascent stages. And what that did was that, we have really been able to explore it and appreciate it a lot better than maybe people who are coming to the industry today. So there are quite a lot of, contribution there, some of the invention disclosures, a couple of patents and stuff like that. But, if I have to really feel proud of whatever I've maybe left as a legacy, or, I've tried to do something that really could be released on, I think it is more in terms of my investment in creating, quality human capital. Might not look very obvious looking at my technology background, but I think I have really invested a lot on creating great, careers uh, at different stages of their obviously journey. But then, I made sure that I created some real good ones who are courageous, who are skilled, who are a lot more creative. And while they're getting all of this success, they're also a lot more equitable and just to the surroundings around them. Uh, I think creating that pool, whatever small or big I could in my capacity, I think that's my sincerest attempt to bring a change. Um, there's a a motto that I've always lived by, and I'll be happy to share it to this forum. I've always believed that you know believe in instilling a culture of innovation at the roots, and that's very important. And to do that, you need to have learning to the core of anything and everything that you do. And I keep telling this to almost all the groups that I interact with, all the people that I work with. So I thought it would be nice to share to this group as well.
Great. Nice knowing this.
And
And as you said correctly, at times when you spoke, when you say, when you just said that, learning is a part. So
yeah,
at times I would just add, maybe unlearning also at times is very important. Certain aspects, unlearning and then learning also makes a lot of difference.
absolutely. I think you're spot on. Yep.
Yeah, I come from the training background. So, this is very relevant to me actually.
Yeah, otherwise, I've also seen that a lot of people, they just get, emotionally attached to something that they do, and they don't realize the larger value in, trying to break the shackles and then, once again, try to be a kid before you can learn something new. I think that cycle has to go on.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Correctly said. Right. Moving on, Mr. Dayal, I would like you to, give me a little longer answer, and I want to know which of your awards was the most remarkable feat for you and why? I know this is tough, but
Yes, I think I'll always say that all of them and all of them are
exactly.
very, very.
So then I would like to know all the journey of all the awards which you have got.
No, I'll try to maybe give a spin to it because there I always look at it from two perspectives. So one is that every time you are recognized for whatever small or big you do, and you kind of get to this cohort of other achievers along with you, sharing the platform. Um, I think, and that's where you really come to know of real inspiring stories. And my kid one day, she just got up and said that, Dad, what does motivate you? I see that you keep motivating people, every now and then. And that made me think, and I answered it, something very, very different. It's very easy for us to follow inspiring, industry leaders, and rightly so, because they have done so much for the industry and the environment. We get books written on them. They are there on all the blog posts and everywhere. it's very easy for you to follow and get inspired. But then when you attend these events and the person who is sitting right next to you, he'll come up with his story, his struggles, his challenges, his own, way of getting around those. That gives you quite a lot of, inspiration. There is so many different untold stories of brilliance. And there are quite a lot of forums which are really bringing this to the fore for a lot of us to know. And I think that's really unique, and that's why I keep Economic Times Inspiring Leaders right at the top, for simple reason that the kind of people that I got exposed to as part of the rest of the achievers, and I continue to stay in touch with them and keep learning from them. I think that's the beauty of all of it. But to add to it, I think another thing I'll also like to mention is things that some of the forums like Indian Achievers Forum do, and that gives you motivation to push yourself not just on the business side of things, but also on creating social capital. And that's very, very important, because if you are in a bigger enterprise or a bigger setup, there is a lot that you need to comply with from the governance perspective. There are ESR committees, there are some compliances, there are investment that you need to make. But then if you're running a small company and you kind of try to do something equivalent or even more, I think that's the best part of it. And if there are organizations which can really recognize those initiatives and efforts, that's invaluable. I really appreciate the Indian Achievers Forum, because they looked at some of those contributions that I was part of, building social equity through different initiatives that I'm running. Just to give you a little more detail on that, the number of people that I end up every year, I make sure that we invest and we kind of support twice as many children for the entire year in terms of feeding them. And we have tied up with some of the NGOs. We're working with Akshay Patra to make sure that we do that. We do not have great books in terms of profit, but I think social capital is really making us equitable.
Okay, nice. Wonderful to listen to this. And you basically, I will say that, you are an inspiration to many of them, and at least to me also.
Thank you so much. It's very, very humble.
Thank you. And so moving forward, okay, what are some of the most significant changes with technological implementations have you seen in your professional life? And what changes do you foresee with the implementations, IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, etc.?
Yeah, I can talk at length on these for sure.
Yes, please.
So,
All ears to it.
And maybe I'll bring a few stories which you might not have heard, and maybe that will make it a little more interesting.
Definitely. We will be really interested to know that.
Yeah, but I think just to set the context, if you really look at the technologies today and the way they're evolving, I think we are living in that era where all of these technologies that you just mentioned, they are really coming of age. And it looks like we are at a stage where we are ready for adoption at scale. But as said in the past, I mean, the best part of all of these in our journey, at least, has been that we were able to play with it, early on in the nascent stages. Say, for instance, I started working on, a smart bin project on IoT way back in 2011. And that was one of the projects that was also, showcased at Mobile World Congress. That was the first Mobile World Congress, almost 12 years back. We started, playing a bit on AI almost 5 to 6 years back. We always knew that there's a lot that needs to be done for us to really take it deeper in terms of mass scale adoption. And that's where I think things are changing today, obviously with the enormous amount of compute and the data technology coming at the fore. I personally have been a IoT evangelist when I was in US, and I was working on quite a few interesting projects in the UCs. I'll just give you a good example there. We were working with I can't call out the name of the companies, but one of the leading companies in manufacturing quite a lot of IoT-based sensors, in partnership with a big IoT platform vendor, and we were working on a project called Internet of Tomatoes. And what that really was, there are quite a lot of small farmers in the Massachusetts and Boston, in that region, where they have just one crop cycle in the entire year. And they grow tomatoes, obviously because of cold weather, you can't have multiple cycles. They want to make sure that, they have optimal produce with a great quality. And there are lots in terms of, technology that they look at to make sure that, they extract value out of the quality and the quantity. So working with these companies, they build a great, IoT sensor stack, planted it at their entire, land that was at their disposal. And, the solution was able to do a bit of prescriptive and a little bit of predictive in terms of, really figuring out how much the produce could be, or how would be the quality of the produce, and if there needs to be any intervention and all of that. Why I gave this example is that, maybe the technology is ready today, but is the market ready everywhere? Are we really looking at, some of these solutions and trying to fit it everywhere? And that's something which we should be conscious about and cautious on at least, trying to play it in the Indian market or in the Southeast Asian market. And in this example, I give you a very simple, analogy. A small farmer in India will have a very, very small landholding. How do you expect him to pay for this kind of a technology? What will be the value and the ROI for his investment if he decides to pay? And there are multiple crop cycles in India, weather is different. So that means that our stack and technology will be used very often. So there are different problems, right? You can't replay the same solution in Telangana or in North Karnataka or Maharashtra or other remote places in rural India. So I think it will be tough to envision, similar solution with a similar business model, with similar, cost of acquisition and ROI everywhere. And that's where my advice to a lot of people who are building the solution would be to be flexible on their business models, make it easy for people to really, onboard the solutions. And, I get a few, thoughts from here and there, and I just try to, borrow it into whatever I say. So once again, NASCOM last week, and then one of my friends in Niti Aayog, and what he said was that if you have to really build and sell solutions, at least in India, you have to look at something called a sachet model. And what that does is that's the only way you can sell at scale. A shampoo sachet, 1 rupee or 2 rupee, that sells in India. So exactly. There has to be simplicity in whatever you're trying to do. You have to be very innovative in your business model. Technology is definitely there, but different regions and different ecosystem have different needs and requirements. And you need to really build a channel where there are quite a lot of partners that you work with. And these partners need to really make sure that they're able to, tailor whatever solution you build to whatever is the need in that particular region. So I think it is a lot more ecosystem play in the future, and I hope that there is this ecosystem building up at least in India, and we see quite a lot of adoption of these technologies. I can go on and on these. I mean, with other technology, other examples. I think a good conclusion to this would be that I think we have to be really look at simplicity if we have to really adopt it at scale.
Very beautifully said. Very beautifully said. We all know, this is a very simple tagline which is there. Simplicity is the essence of beauty.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, this tagline is, if you, I think you would be knowing that brand, Garden Bareli.
Yeah.
The clothes, the saris and the dress material, what do you call it, a big company. They had this tagline when they used to advertise in the, earlier in DD channel, and all when all these web series and Netflixes and all these private players were not there. So it's very close to me. This tagline, which you kept on saying about simplicity, only that kept on coming into my mind. Like, I mean, so many things, like, we don't realize, but then, from somewhere they just come up, they just pop up. And, you related it so well with today's technology, where you said that it cannot be replicated in every scenario.
Yeah. And another thing, people really tend to overlook is that when they really look at, striving or something like simplicity, they think that it is only for product that the end consumer directly buys, only in a B2B segment. But actually, it is not true.
It's
it is very much applicable in B2B as well. So we
Yes.
really need to open up and be very flexible on the business models per se, at least, so that it becomes easier for you to have conversation with lots of different kinds of players.
True, very, very correctly said. I am totally on that. Like, I'm sold on that. Okay.
I'm also salesperson. That's my job.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have been into sales of IT training courses way back from, I could say, 90, 91, when IT was just introduced in the market.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Coming to the next question. Since you are an ESG certified corporate governance expert now, what values do you offer to the corporate world?
So I mean, I'll be very honest, and I still see myself as an outsider to the bigger corporate world. Yes, I'm certified, but there's still a learning curve that I need to go through, and the opportunities that need to come my way. So I'll try to answer this in two parts. One is that if I have to really offer something to the corporate world, in my current position today, I can only offer promise. And that promise could be of diligence to bring in all the best practices that I have been exposed to, a promise of courage to bring in, right kind of activism in the boards if I am given a chance, and bring up topics which is of relevance to quite a lot of stakeholders, and stakeholder activism will be a core discussion for all the future, board proceedings. And I also promised to bring in a lot more coordination, which is tech-enabled, to make sure that we strive for that efficiency in the way the boards operate today. But again, as I said, these are aspirational, far-fetched. I have been coining, something called boards of future in some of my recent posts and write-ups, and some of the talks that I've given recently. And I might not have a lot of data as such, research data to back whatever I'm saying, but you can take it more as a foresight, or with whatever common learnings I would have had from different platforms. To me, I think when I say boards of future, ESG will be at the center stage. There's no second thought about it. Today, all the conversation is more about, the reporting and the compliances and all of that. But I think it has to be a lot more, proactive, and a lot more critically being looked at, even though, there's no real compliance per se for the smaller firms. I also believe that, technology will be that unifying enabler to get to where we want in future. say, for instance, today, if you really, look at the existing boards, we have wealth of wisdom available, some real great, uh, visionaries into these corporate boards. Think of it wherein we can get them a lot more actionable information for them, to make judicious calls, right calls, and bring in lots of efficiencies. I think technology will play a big role. We have clearly seen in the last couple of years during the COVID time, wherein even the regulatory bodies have started to change the way the board functions, getting in lots of digital tech into the proceedings, but it is still limited to secretarial stuff. I think at some point of time, we'll see that, uh, a board member who is not from a finance background might be making a lot more critical evaluation of the audit reports than maybe others. Obviously, assisted by AI-based technologies and stuff like that. So I'm really looking at that space maybe a few years down the lane, where the course of conversation and the kind of conversation that will happen at the board will be of real different level. And I think that's part of where we are heading to. Because we talked of so much of technology, I just also wanted to see, whether I'm making sense every time when I say boards of future. So in the morning, I mean, I just interface with OpenAI, ChatGPT. I'm not sure if you're exposed to ChatGPT, but I just thought that let's check with ChatGPT as in what's these trends that that is picked up in terms of the corporate governance. And I was amazed because all that I'm talking about, they did pick 3 or 4 key trends, and all of them are like stakeholder activism, ESG being the core, all the regulatory, frameworks today, which was traditionally being reactive, right? Some big event happening in the corporate world, and then the regulatory body used to react to it. To something which is proactive today, and a lot more, transparency in terms of disclosures and stuff like that. I think we are getting to that, beautiful spot where both will function a lot differently than what they do today. And I'll be so happy to get a chance. Anyway, I think very, very intrigued and very much excited with what has to unfold.
Okay, great. We wish you all the best again for this opportunity which you're looking for. And definitely, I think with your expertise, I think you don't have to go further. It'll come to your lap, that's for sure.
Thank you so much, Rani. I hope so. But yeah, as I said, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and
Yes.
I'm so glad that I got associated with WTC and the kind of learning that they have really imparted. It has really made a lot of difference. So I'm so glad that everything is coming together at the right time.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Dayal, as you know, we are building the industry magnates community for cross-pollination of knowledge and a community of independent directors of having a better corporate governance in the country. What are your thoughts about this initiative taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the WTC team?
I mean, first of all, sincere gratitude to Mr. Bipin Dayal and the entire WTC team, not just in the way things are panning out, but also the broader vision. I think I'm so much excited about, the things that are being planned. And, I'm not really talking about it from my experience. I think I have been associated with WTC just maybe a few weeks or maybe a couple of months, little more. But just fascinates me. The kind of conversation that we are having, the kind of content that we went through, and then the cohort that we have already built. So I'm not sure if you know, but there are quite a lot of different groups of 40, 50 people. There is a group running on LinkedIn, and community is already evolving and thriving. And there's a lot of great conversation that is happening, more so on the ESG space, because that's where it's sticky as a topic, right? And I think this is awesome, and we're just getting started. All great things take a lot of time to really scale and flourish, but I'm so confident in this initiative and the effort, I'm pretty sure that this will transform itself into a very big movement. I'll just say that, based on the conversation that I had with the cohort and the community members so far, I think it is imperative that at some point in time we'll work a lot more closer with the W3 team in curating quite a lot of, thought leadership in between. I mean, maybe creating quite a lot of articles for consumption with the outside world, co-creating quite a lot of documents, and then inspire people around. So you'll see quite a lot of those things happening. I'm so excited about all of this. And hats off to the entire team. I know it takes quite a lot of efforts, and I'm sure that we'll get there where we want to. It's a great vision to have. I'm not sure if I'm allowed, but I'll just drop a quote if it is okay. It is not mine.
Please, it's okay. It's perfectly okay.
Because it just so much aligns with the entire vision that WBC carries, right? So if I have to really pick one word that really defines everything together, I think it is excellence. And it is well quoted that we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence is therefore not an act, but an habit. I think that's where I'll just leave it. And I'm so thankful to the entire team for their guidance and support.
Thank you. Great. That was fantastic conversing with you. And I'm confident that your insights will inspire the future leaders. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Wish you the best for future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Bipin Dayal.